Hi class, it's Mr. Trez, and today's lesson is going to be about graphing linear equations. Our learning objective? The student will be able to graph linear equations by using slope and y-intercept. Our essential question: how can you use the slope and y-intercept to graph linear equations? Okay, so now here we have an equation that is linear, and we also have a graph. So what we're going to do today is we want to be able to graph this linear equation. So how do we know that our equation is linear? Well, an equation is linear if it is in the standard form of y equals mx plus b, or we can write it as y equals b plus mx, where m is our slope and b is our y-intercept. And slope is going to be our rise over run, and b, our y-intercept, is going to be our point that crosses the y-axis, okay, where our line crosses the y-axis. So let's take a look at our equation. In our first equation, we have y equals 1/2 x plus 1. In the direction state, using your understanding of slope and y-intercept, draw a line that represents the equation y equals 1/2 x plus 1. So, in order to draw a line, we need to have a minimum of 2 points. So as long as we have a minimum of 2 points, we can graph a line. So, if we're given the equation that is linear, and it looks like y equals 1/2 x plus 1, we can use our knowledge of slope and y-intercept to graph this line. So the first point that I'm going to want to graph is the y-intercept, okay, because that's a guaranteed point. So looking at our equation, we can see that our y-intercept is +1, and make sure you look at the sign in front of the number. If it's plus, it's going to be positive. If it's minus, that means it's going to be a negative. So in this case, it's +1. So let's graph our first point, okay, our y-intercept, which would be 0, 1. So let's start at the origin, and we're going to go, since x is 0, we're not going to move left or right, but since y is 1, we're going to move up to +1. Now we have our slope, and we're going to use our slope to find the next point. So I'm going to say that again. We're going to use our slope to find the next point. And slope is our rise over run. So our slope in this case is equal to 1/2. So we're going to start with the y-intercept, and we're going to rise 1 and run 2 and draw a point. So let's start with our y-intercept, and let's rise 1, and let's run 1, 2, and now this is going to be our next point. And we can even graph more if we have a large enough graph. We're going to rise 1 and run 1, 2, and there's going to be our point. So as we can see, this looks like the stairs that we've been working with, the rise and the run. So let's draw a line by connecting the perfect points. And there we go. So this equation, okay, is this line where it is y equals 1/2 x plus 1. And even if we double checked it, and we said, okay, let's just make sure that this is correct. We have a y-intercept of 1, and we have a slope of rising 1, running 2, rising 1, running 2. So we have a slope of 1/2. Okay, so we are using our slope and our y-intercept to draw the line. Okay, let's take a look at another example. So using your understanding of slope and y-intercept, draw a line that represents the equation y equals 3x minus 2. So now, same thing. We are going to use our slope and y-intercept to help draw this line. So we know it's linear because it's in the standard form of y equals mx plus b. And let's just rewrite our equation. Y equals 3x minus 2. So the first step is to graph our y-intercept, which in this case is not positive 2, but negative 2, because you want to look at the sign in front of the number. Okay, so since it's minus, that's going to represent a negative, because subtracting a positive is the same thing as adding a negative. But it's very easy to see it as negative 2. So our y-intercept is negative 2. Okay, or 0, negative 2. So let's first graph 0, negative 2. So we're going to start at the origin. Since x is 0, we're going to stay on the origin, and then y is negative 2. We're going to graph negative 2. So now our slope is equal to 3. So now let's remember, slope is a rise over a run. But right now, I only see a whole number of 3. We want to write 3 as a fraction. Okay? So 3 is going to become 3 over 1. Any whole number, we can just set our denominator equal to 1, and it will be equivalent, because 3 divided by 1 is 3. So for slope, but it's helpful to write slope as a fraction, and to think of slope as a fraction, because we want to be able to rise and run. So 3 over 1 is the way we want to think about our slope. So now, starting from the y-intercept, let's rise 3, 1, 2, 3, and run 1. And there's our point. Let's rise 3, 1, 2, 3, and run 1. And there's our point. So now I have multiple points, and all I need is 2. So let's connect our line. There it is. There it is. Okay, so this line is equivalent to y equals 3x minus 2. And let's even double check it. Our y-intercept is negative 2. And our graph, our y-intercept is negative 2. Our slope is positive 3 over 1, or positive 3. So we're going to rise 3, run 1. And since it's positive, we're going to rise 1, 2, 3, and then run 1 to the right. Thank you for watching this video.